right, chaps. Hello and welcome to everybody watching and listening, and hello and welcome to Theo Walcott and Taylor Twellman. Transfers hijacked this week. The Alexander Isak derby delivering drama that had nothing to do with Alexander Isak, thank God. And the heat rising once again at Manchester United. This is It's Called Soccer. I'm Rebecca Lowe, Premier League host on NBC. Arsenal, England legend, Theo Walcott, New England Revolution, record scorer, now the face of Apple TV for Major League Soccer, Taylor Twellman. Everybody at home, keep sending in your comments and questions. We've got some actually to talk about at the end of this show. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're going to get straight to it, everybody. Here is what is coming up. Rio Ngumoha steals the headlines.
I had a tear in my eyes when he scored.
Spurs trouble Pep again.
Spurs have just had Pep's number. He's lost 8 games to the Spurs. That's most of any Premier League opponent.
Does Bruno need to be stronger?
He's a professional athlete who's the captain of Manchester United Football Club. He needs to be stronger in that way and blank everything out.
Muller and Son shine in Major League Soccer.
He's a winner. He's coming still with gas left in the tank. Tread on the tires. He can compete. He can win.
Was it always Arsenal for Eze? Mailbag. Your questions answered.
First off, anyone that puts the milk in first is a serial killer. I even know that.
And that's all coming up on this week's episode of It's Called Soccer. All right, guys, we're going to start with the reason why this episode is coming out on a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, and that is the Monday afternoon football, as we call it in America, Newcastle against Liverpool. Afterwards, Arne Slot said it wasn't football. Well, if that isn't football, I take not football every day of the week. Liverpool beating Newcastle in the, 101st minute by 3-2, courtesy of a 16-year-old Rio Ngumoha. I mean, he is on just everyone's minds this morning. I'm thinking Max Dowman's quite relieved as the week starts because he had all of the attention after what happened with him and Arsenal, and now it's all about Rio Ngumoha. Absolutely love it. Theo, what did you make of that game? Because it had everything.
It's nice the fact that we can just get rid of systems, we can get rid of patterns of play and just let the players play with passion, energy, how the fans want football to be seen. And do you know what was really great for me is actually letting the referee just let it flow, because he understood the game meaning, everything going on with Isak. And it was just quite refreshing to actually witness a game where you just didn't know what was going to happen. It's like everyone forgot how to play football as well, in some ways, if you know what I mean. And it brought back like the old school kind of football, and I loved it. I couldn't take my eye off it, to be honest. It was incredible game. I did not expect that at all, and that is what the Premier League's about. It just surprises us. It makes people fall in love with football again. It made me fall in love with football even more than I do now, so we want more of that and less playing out from the back and all this pretty stuff. Let's just be all guns blazing.
Yeah, because the emotions, I think, were so on display from both teams, but especially, Taylor, from Newcastle United. They were running around like blue-ass flies half the time, and then that, of course, that's what happened with Anthony Gordon. But that added to it, didn't it? I'm sure Eddie Howe was like, calm down, but that added to it.
Yes, the animosity came through the television all the way here in the United States. The energy, the angst, the drama off the field, whether or not Isak's going to go to Liverpool, is he ever going to play for Newcastle again? All of that came through the television. Theo, if I could kiss you through this Zoom right now, I would kiss you on the cheek, because it is
Cute.
It is exactly what we all love about the game.
I'm going to talk about Rio Ngumoha in just a second, but we've got to give a shout out to Ugo Ekitike. 3 goals
I love him.
in his 3 games. I mean, everyone just loves him. He's just been gracing the Premier League. What an addition. We will definitely talk more about him as the season goes on. I want to give a shout out, and this is very controversial, to Anthony Gordon. And the reason is, obviously, it was a silly challenge. Everyone knows that. It was an obvious red card. But there's something about the way Anthony Gordon plays the game. He, for me, epitomised what Taylor just said. That emotion. He's like a street kid. You know, the hair might need a little bit of work with that hairband, but he, for me, running around like mad and just loving the club. He said afterwards, I love this club now more than ever. And he apologised for the red card, not always thinking we need to always apologise for red cards. But I just think he's a bit of a throwback. So I wanted to give him a shout out, even though we got sent off. But Theo, Rio Ngumoha, 16 years of age, almost 17. I mean, it would remind some people of a 17-year-old Theo Walcott scoring against Chelsea in the 2007 League Cup final. When that ball falls to him, I mean, he doesn't even take a touch. Afterwards, Arne Slot was like, I thought we might have taken a touch. It just looked so natural. And how has he succeeded? I mean, honestly, I can't get over it. Just tell us what you thought of him.
To be honest, it surprised me when you're bringing on a 16-year-old at St James's Park when you are under the cosh as well. It just shows the trust element that, Arne Slot has in all of his players, to be honest, but particularly Rio, should we just call it, just to make it easier for everyone. But, I mean, there's a finish that he would be doing every day in training. They would do those kinds of finishing anyway. But I'm not taking that away from him, because all the emotions coming through, you always feel like when you make your debuts, you try a little bit too hard. And it took Max Dowman a little bit of time to get into his, I'm sure we'll go on to that. But for Rio, I actually had a tear. I had a tear in my eyes when he scored, because I just felt, it reminded me of myself going back all those years thinking, Bud, you've got an incredible years ahead. Just enjoy this moment. Don't think about tomorrow. That's the one thing I will say. I don't know, Taylor, if you agree with this, but I always feel like footballers don't tend to really enjoy now. They think, okay, always do that cliche, we'll think about the next game, and no, enjoy it, because it doesn't happen often, and that,
because you don't know when your last game's going to be, Theo. You don't know.
Exactly. And it's just such a cliche, but it was a kid's dream. He's just lived it. And it's a shame it was not a shame it was at St James's Park, because the Liverpool fans are right up with the gods, aren't they, in St James's Park? So he didn't quite know where to go. But what I really loved was his teammates' reaction on him, because they feel it as well for him. And I think that's, we can all relate to that kid in us, can't we? And I think he brought that out of everyone that night, particularly Liverpool fans, of course. So
I mean, Rebecca, he scored 3 goals in preseason, didn't he, Theo?
Yes,
he scored 3 goals in preseason, so it's kind of part of who he is.
Yeah, no, of course. I think as well, you look at the kind of players he would have been around in that setup with Diaz, very similar in that kind of just positive. They just play with freedom. They don't have that expectation or that pressure yet. And I think it's important for them to really try and forget about that. And I think that's why it's very refreshing. Now we're seeing these teams just playing, and I think it's great for the league, it's great for the Premier League, it's great for world football as well. I mean, Lamine Yamal set the target high, but these guys can catch up. They really can.
No,
definitely.
I don't disagree. It is so refreshing and it is so exciting. But I'll always say, as a mum, I do worry. I just worry. But I think that might be just my motherly instinct. I'm like, the kid is a child.
You're right to worry.
You know what I mean? I do. It's like somebody's baby out there, and they're a proper baby. Like, he's a child. And it just concerns me, the emotions that are hard to deal with at 15, 16, 17 anyway in life, if you're just a normal kid, let alone just scoring the winner at St James's Park for Liverpool against players that you were like watching 6 months ago, a year ago on the TV pretty much only. So I just, fingers crossed, everything for both him and Max Dowman just continue to go at a nice, steady pace. I think everybody wanted to get this game out the way with the Alexander Isak situation, Taylor, in terms of nothing was going to happen as in the days before it. Now we have until next Monday for the end of the transfer window. The reports are today, and it's just reports, but they're coming from pretty good sources, that he has doubled down, Isak, and said, I absolutely don't ever want to play for this club again. Someone's going to have to break, okay? So either Liverpool are going to have to pay more, or Newcastle are going to have to call Liverpool and say, we're ready to talk. If that doesn't happen, here's my question to you. By the way, there are plenty of people thinking that won't happen. There are plenty of people thinking he will be a Newcastle player still come the end of the transfer window. Bruno Gyökeres, Anthony Gordon, other players have posted things on Instagram which are very pro-Newcastle. Who knows if that's just a pro-Newcastle post or if they are making some sort of subtle dig.
They're both, by the way.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So here's my question. As a player, as a former player yourself, you want to be in the best possible team. So do you welcome Isak back to give yourself the best chance for the season, and you say, we get it, mate, this is football, welcome back, come on back? Or do you give him the cold shoulder?
The players want the best players and the best possibility to win a game, and the best players that can do that. If Isak is forced to play for Newcastle, then it's on him to rectify the relationship with his current teammates at Newcastle and make sure it's water under the bridge, and then he's got to roll up his sleeves and be the Isak that he was last year. He has to do that. But when you double down in this day and age, in 2025, with the social media and everything you're putting more of a bullseye on that aspect if Newcastle, which in my opinion, I think they're going to call his bluff, because I don't think Liverpool is going to go all in the way some people think they will, just because I think Fenway Sports Group has a limit to how they want to go about the business. The other part is Ekitike's got 3 goals in 3 competitive games. I'd argue they might not even need Isak, but that's a different conversation. Isak can be a Newcastle player again, Rebecca, but it's going to be on him to rectify that relationship with the players in the locker room. And then he's got to work his tail end off to make sure the fans understand that he can still do the job.
Theo?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I totally agree. I really do. I think I can relate as well, very similar to when I moved from Southampton to Arsenal. Again, I couldn't tell anyone. I wanted to tell people.
Yeah.
However, there's a way of doing it. You still got to turn up. You still need to do the right things because you're doing it for yourself. It's no one else, because you are a professional athlete. And as well, the interesting side of it is very different. Is this World Cup year? It's a massive year for any player if they're going to move or not move. And it's a big call. And for me, I would welcome him back if I was one of his teammates, because you look at some of the chances that Newcastle had last night afternoon, apologies, with Anthony Gordon. He scores those. And it's a completely different game because he's a different kind of forward. Anthony Gordon is not a number 9. As much as I played with him, he's a great player, great lad. But for me, his best football is out on the left-hand side. It's a question. You'd even ask him that. But he'll do a job. He will. But he ain't Isak. And Isak will expect, knowing that he is probably, with the ego he's caused at this moment in time, the best striker in world football, he's going to want to be paid that kind of money, and Liverpool are going to have to pay over the odds, and then maybe even more. And I get the impression, I feel like it will happen, but I do then question the TK. I can never say his name.
I know it's hard.
Dilemma.
Yeah, I think tactically it's an interesting one, Theo.
That's the problem, because I wouldn't want to push him out on the left-hand side, because already he's having these connections in centre forward. He's got that arrogance, hasn't he? Something presence about him.
Actually, Arne Slot last night, when he was asked the question that you had to ask him, and every good journalist would ask him, which is, what's the latest now with Isak? He said, I think it would be disrespectful not to talk about Gyökeres at this time, which I thought was really interesting. So maybe they've decided we're good, we're done, we need to go and get Mark Gay. All right, chaps, I've got to move it on. Manchester City against Tottenham. We all had City to win last week, and then they went and lost against Thomas Frank's Spurs. So I'm going to have one of you on City, I'm going to have one of you on Spurs. Taylor, I'll start with you. City, we are, I was saying at the weekend, we are very knee-jerky in football. We are the most knee-jerky people in the world in football, because one week we're like, City are in the title race and now everyone's tipping them to win the league, and then the next week we're like, oh, City are actually the same City as they were last week. Which City do you think is most likely to be the real City?
I don't know that. It's a great question, Rebecca, because if you think about it, Spurs have just had Pep's number. He's lost 8 games to Spurs. That's most of any Premier League opponent. And they became the first side to score 2+ goals in 5 consecutive games at City since Sunderland in 1980 and 2000 in that period. Why do I say all that? It's been a long time since one team, one club has had the number of Pep in City, and yet Spurs have. Listen, Spurs were the better team on the day, absolutely. But you're asking me about Man City. The high line was exposed. John Stones looked uncomfortable. They didn't want to play Rodri. It almost showed you that Pep was under the gun because he played Rodri and brought him on. I think goalkeeper is a very, very precarious position. I think over the next 6 to 7 days, we're going to get an answer to that, because Ederson was on the bench and they didn't look great. I don't want to be prisoner of the moment and say this is going to be the Man City type season that we saw last year, and not because I think City has a real chance of winning the Premier League. I think it's just more Spurs have Pep's number at the moment. But if Rodri doesn't come back fully healthy and in the manner that he was in the Footballer of the Year type of style, I think City is going to struggle. I absolutely do. I think he's the one player that completes the entire puzzle. And if he doesn't come back fully healthy, Theo, I think Man City's going to struggle.
Do you know the problem with Rodri as well? Because I've had my ACL, and the period of time you're out for will take him the period of time just to feel kind of normal again.
Yep.
And that's the worry. It's kind of this season's a bit of a write-off. It's just for him to enjoy his football again. He ain't going to be the same player. He just won't be, which is really sad for me to say. I wasn't the same player. There was an element of my game
maybe next year,
lost.
you think? He just needs that
I think
one
next
season.
year, it will be his new norm. It will be his new norm for him of how his knee feels, because even to this day, I have issues with my knee. But I just think that's the dilemma. They're going to have to find someone who's going to replace him in time, because they can't rely on him as much as they did anymore, because there's a reason why he's on the bench or he's not playing as much, because they need to manage that knee. So that would worry for me if I was on the outside, personally.
Theo, with Spurs, I don't know about you, but I'm getting I know, sorry, but I do have to ask you. I'm getting really annoyed and a little bit perplexed with the managers like Ange Postecoglou, like Ruben Amorim. We're going to get onto him, who play this one way, only way.
Yes,
I'm not changing, mate. All that, right? And then you look at Thomas Frank. And he literally is a horses for courses manager, isn't he? He's all right, who are we playing? And it's not like he's giving them too much respect. And what's really interesting is Kevin Danso did an interview at the weekend, and he talked about how the manager will say to them, right, we're going to do this week, and they all jump on board. And there's this weird sort of school of thought that if a manager changes from week to week, then the player's like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. No, he absolutely knows what he's doing. He actually knows what he's doing, arguably, more than anybody else, Theo. Thomas Frank.
To be honest as well, because he doesn't treat the players like players, he treats them like people. And when you have a manager who really can manage people, you want to play with this guy. You want to work so hard for him. And he hasn't got a bunch of superstars as well. Very similar to the Brentford side of things. He didn't have superstars. He had people that worked hard for each other because he believed in the people that are at the football club to get him to the level he needs to be. And he's got some very good footballers at Tottenham, of course. And even he just brings the best out of people and players. He makes you feel good. And when you feel good as a player, you express yourself. You play with energy and freedom. And I think he allows that freedom. I don't think he overcomplicates things at times. I think he has a system where in certain areas of the pitch, do you know what, I'm not going to overcomplicate. You do what created you to become professional footballers in the first place. I don't need to manage that side of it. It's the other little things which is really key for me. The midfield is where games are won, which actually sickens me to say it because I was a winger, but midfield is so important now when you have legs. And Paulinho, people would have thought, I'm not sure about this, but he is a workhorse. And I know it didn't quite go well for him when he moved on from Fulham. However, he's someone that will be doing all the right things away from the training field, which will really just seep down the club. And I think it's important to have people like that. So for me, I'll be worried about Tottenham. I really would be at this moment in time. And they still have a period of time to get people in the window. And I think whoever he gets, he's going to make them into a better player. So,
Rebecca, he had a quote after the game, Thomas Frank, that won me over. And his quote was asked about the transfer window and all of that. And he said, if we can improve it, perfect. If we can't, then we have very good players, and we showed that today. It's such a simple quote. But to the players in the locker room and to the players on that team, he's not talking about, yeah, sure, if we want to improve it, no problem. But he said to the players that he inherited, and you two know this way better than me, how often when transfer windows come around, new managers want their players, or however they want to phrase it. They want to bring in new life and all that. He's already got 2 clean sheets in 2 games. They only had 6 last year. And it's the same players, quite frankly. It's not a ton of turnover within that group. But for him to say, if we improve it, great. If not, we have very good players, and we showed that today. That immediately gives you confidence as a player.
Yeah, and I said this many times on this show. He's my other than Oliver Glasner for obvious reasons. He's my favourite manager. I'm lucky enough to have met him, spent a bit of time with him. He is the most normal Premier League manager I think I've ever met. The most polite, the most engaged with the media. He is just, bottom line, a top bloke. Everybody at Craven Cottage, it was not Fulham Manchester United. It was Bruno Fernandes against Chris Kavanagh. Let's be honest. I mean, that situation, I was like,
what
in the NBC studio. I know. I was like, hang on. We got to clip all of that up. Look at Theo with his crybaby motion. We've got to clip it all up. We've got to play the whole thing, because anyone who didn't see it, he was getting ready to take his penalty. He was walking back. Yes, definitely he was in the zone. I get it. Chris Kavanagh I think it was Chris Kavanagh, wasn't it? Yeah. Kavanagh was talking to players saying don't encroach, and then they bumped each other by accident. Neither of them saw each other, bumped each other, and then Bruno had a proper tantrum, full on tantrum at the referee, like, oh my God, like you just bumped me, now I've got to start everything all over again. And so he started all over again. Then we know what happened, skied the penalty. Then he just looked devastated. Then half-time a few minutes later, comes out after half-time, he's having a proper meltdown again with the referee, like, well, you bumped me, like, what do you expect the referee, A, to do about that? He cannot unbump him, it's happened. And 2, you've got to be, Theo, mentally stronger.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I look at it like this. It's a child's response because that you're still trying to teach their mind of how to deal with situations. We're talking about a child, which is absolutely fine. You want to try and help that side of things. And it was a really natural child reaction, which you'd expect them to keep on going on. You know, it's like with your kids, for instance, if something happens, they want to keep on going on and you try and manage that situation. But he's a professional athlete who's the captain of Manchester United Football Club. He needs to be stronger in that way and blank everything out because you're playing for the biggest club in the world right now. And if that affects him by the referee bumping him, then they got big serious issues already. He'll get him off the penalty duties or something, get him off the captain armband maybe, perhaps. Because for me, if that was another player, you think Ronaldo's going to be a referee? No, nope. Absolutely no chance. Do you think even Odegaard at Arsenal is going to be absolutely no chance? So it's for me, Bruno Fernandes' reaction is really surprised me, but it's got us talking about that instead of the actual result. And it's like what a manager does. They really reflect, don't they?
Don't worry, we'll get on to the result in a second.
We got that.
Don't worry, Ruben's not off the hook. The referee didn't apologise, said Bruno Fernandes. That's what triggered me. But he said it's no excuse for missing. He didn't apologise. I mean, I'm not being... Literally, are we in kindergarten? Are we, Taylor?
I mean, apology. First off, we don't like it from my. I've watched the clip 10 times before because I knew we were going to talk about this, and he acknowledges he got in the way and he kind of gives him a nod, like, "Come on, move on."
He's British. British people apologise for everything.
Yeah. Yes, and secondly, Rebecca, which, by the way, you're 100% correct. But the reality is, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, I've commentated probably 20-some-odd games with Bruno Fernandes in the game, whether it's Portugal or whether it's United. He's always done, and I researched this before we started taping this podcast, he's always had a stutter step or a hop. That took him completely out of his element. It took him completely out of his way. And Theo, you hit the nail on the head. I asked this question on social media when he was first given the captain's armband for United. He's a fantastic footballer, an unbelievable footballer. He's never come across to me as a captain. He's never come across to me as a captain. And Theo, you hit the nail on the head, buddy. The reality is this. I can't come up with another captain in my lifetime of either watching the game or playing the game that would have thrown him off that much. And then more importantly, say it after a game. Yes. That's the problem. Acknowledging that it actually threw him off.
But Taylor as well, do you know what the issue is? I don't know if you agree, but signing someone like Cunha, for me, he likes to realm in that position. I don't think you can play them both. That's why the problem is now having someone like Bruno Fernandes as your captain, because now I prefer him higher up the field, but Cunha's there. So now they got this dilemma and they have to play him. Because if he's going to whinge about a referee bumping into him, imagine him on the bench right now.
But Theo,
how much disruption he could do.
But they need at least one, if not two new midfielders with legs, right? Because Ugarte's not good enough. He doesn't fancy Mainu, and Bruno shouldn't be playing in there. And Casemiro, no. So if they in an ideal world,
Casemiro's just a no.
Sorry, just a no. If you got the two new midfielders, there is no place for Bruno Fernandes in this team, and that comes back to what we talked about with Ange Postecoglou, and now with Ruben Amorim, this 3-4-2-1 philosophy that he will not, and he seems proud, by the way, that he won't veer away from that. Tay?
Thank you for that, because this goes back to the point: square pegs and round holes. Whenever a manager in any sport, but here in football, soccer, here in the United States, whenever you hear system, no. The players dictate the system that you play. The system doesn't dictate the players that you play, because your best players and collection of 11 to 15 players, for lack of a better way to put it, numbers wise, they've got to fit you've got to play a system that suits them. What Theo just said is exactly correct. Now, Mason Mount, in my opinion, has looked good in this system, but that doesn't mean that the system can't change in order to get the best players on the field. The other part to this is, and I'm going to raise, you get a penalty, you've spent how many millions of dollars for attacking players to come on. Why not give one of the new players the opportunity to score their first goal for Manchester United? Am I missing something there?
No, you're not. You're not at all. Because Cunha will be the player for me. He's the penalty taker. He's got that presence. He's really unlucky not to be 2 or 3-0 up. Actually, to be honest, he had some incredible chances. Another day they go in, and that's the other side of it for me. But you're spot on. I do worry the fact that when you're putting players into positions where they're not comfortable, they can just do a job, but you're taking their strengths away from them, and they're taking Bruno Fernandes' strengths where he's playing this in the Man United team for me, because he needs to be higher up. He needs to be where Cunha's playing. And that's the problem he has right now. Amorim will continue to play him. He will.
I wonder, Theo, whether that frustration is part of, why he then reacted to the referee so over the top.
Yes.
Because he's just playing in the wrong spot.
It's a good point.
There's also been another story this week that's resurfaced about him going to Saudi. We do still have 6 or 7 days. I mean, he's obviously one of their best players, if not their best player. But if he went, it would at least solve that problem. But then it's also crazy to imagine them letting their best player go. He's got a lot of problems. He's got a problem in goal, has Ruben Amorim, because Onana's on the bench and Altay Bayindir, who everybody seems to love throwing the corners in at him and long throws and free kicks, and everyone's terrified. So they've got a major problem in goal as well. He's got a lot of problems, including 29 games, 28 points, and he could soon have the worst percentage of wins of any United manager since 1931. I feel like this season was supposed to start with positivity. It was supposed to start with a couple of wins. It started with 1 point from 6, and I don't think he's got that much more time. Arsenal against Leeds, because, gentlemen, this one, we talked about the Liverpool game had everything. This had everything, not for Leeds, but for Arsenal. And it all begun with the parading of Berechi Eze. And we heard rumours in the... That's just unnecessary, Theo, isn't it? I don't want to see that on a red shirt yet. I'm sure I'll see that next weekend. That is so out of order. For anyone who's just listening,
I'm probably going to replace
an Arsenal. No, you're not going to put it on the wall. No, you're
not.
Hang
on a minute. Hang on, Theo. I'm glad you did it. Rebecca, be honest. How sick does that make you feel?
It looks good, doesn't it?
Do you know what?
Come on, Rebecca. Looks great.
Be honest.
I was going to wear it.
Sick, don't you dare. Sick is probably not the right word. I would say sad, just really sad. Really, really sad. We had word in the studio. We were told that he's there and he's going to come out on the field. So we couldn't tell our audience, but we could we could hint that he was coming. Thank you, Theo.
Is that enough? Should I get rid of it?
That's enough. Yes, get rid of it.
Okay. The boss has spoken. That's all good.
Oh my God, seriously. It's like this guy for my club has given hundreds of thousands, maybe that's a stretch, tens of thousands of Crystal Palace fans the best day of their life, definitely of their sporting life, top 3 of my entire life. That moment in May, he, off the field, on the field, was a delight. Him, Zaha and Elise together was like a 3 I'd never thought Palace would ever have. He played and he loved the club. He left in a beautiful way. He did everything right. He did want to play in the Europa Conference League playoff, and I think right at the end he was spooked a little bit by whoever, agent, Arsenal, I don't know, to say like he didn't want to play. But on the whole, he did everything right. He wrote a lovely message. Look at Theo's little face. He's so happy. Look at him. He wrote a lovely message to Palace fans. I can't love him more. I'm glad he's gone to Arsenal rather than Spurs because it gives him more chance of, I think, silverware. And I wish him all the best. But to say that it doesn't make me want to cry would be a lie. It does. It's like when we lost Ian Wright. And of course, they both did the announcement video together because Arsenal have taken both of these amazing players off us. But he is he will. He's the greatest player to ever play for Crystal Palace, because if you score the winning goal in the FA Cup final, that's what happens.
I was wrong as well. I'm so pleased and grateful
he
chose. Well, I did. And I'm so glad I was wrong. I really was.
Okay, what else happened in that game? So the Max Dowman debut, which was incredible to watch. I think you mentioned it, Theo. It took him a little bit of while. I love him too. A little bit of while just to kind of... He had a go, didn't he, a little bit in the first few minutes, and he lost the ball. And I was like, I think he's just so trying to show what he can do. And then he won the penalty and he was brilliant. But you've been in that position, Theo. When he came on, what was he thinking when he came on? What would have been in his head?
To be honest, I actually don't think he would be thinking. I remember when I made my debut, I wasn't... No, because I always feel like you play with instinct and you just play with that freedom. I spoke about this with Rio earlier, with the Liverpool young lad playing, and that's why it's so refreshing to have these guys coming through, because And what's refreshing is the players want to give him the ball constantly, give him the ball, and just think. And as a fullback, you're like, oh, come on. Especially when you have these inverted wingers, you can go on both sides now, who are that elegant with the stop-start. And when you have the stop-start and you delay the movement, it's hard to read as a defender, honestly. And it's just, he will terrify everyone he plays against every time he has that ball because he's positive. And that's what it's about. Football should be positive.
Yeah, you're right. And fullbacks do not want you to be running at them. But is there also an element of every fullback that comes up against him doesn't want to be embarrassed by a child?
Well, as well,
Yes.
fullbacks will be waiting for the backup to come. Like, come on, my centre half needs to come, or my centre midfield player needs to come. Which obviously the penalty was caused by the centre mid player. I can't remember his name actually, but it's scary how young these guys are playing now. It scares me, but it's great to see. And I think the pressure side of it is the big dilemma. Will he be able to cope with, the money side of things, the social media side of things is very different to when I came through. But I think he can relate. I spoke about this a few weeks back in the pod. He can relate to some of those players in that dressing room. And it's important for him to really focus on away from the football as well. That's really important for him.
I also think Yamal coming in, Yamal having the success he's had, Theo, is now all of a sudden maybe released a little bit of the anxiety of managers saying, maybe I don't play this 15 or 16-year-old player. Maybe we now do. I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment, but Max Dowman has that. Rebecca, you said it perfectly. He struggled and then immediately had the confidence later on, the ball carrying, the stop-start, just the technique. He was completely in the moment and he was living the moment. And yet, I just wonder Yamal's success. And I'm not saying Max Dowman because people on social media are going to lose their minds with me talking about this, especially being an American. But watching Yamal play as free as he is, Mikel Arteta and these other managers may be like, listen, let's see what Max Dowman can do. Let's just see what it turns into. Because some of that youthful exuberance turns into quality that is unearthed in something you never would have expected. I think he's the real deal. I think we're going to be talking about Max Dowman for a long, long time because he looks like he's living in this bubble of just give me the ball and let me do what I've done since I've been 9-10 years old, and he's going to do well with it. I really believe that.
He carries the ball the way Messi carries the ball. And that's saying a lot. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Messi. I just think it's how he carries it, how he manipulates his body, and he moves. He wins. He'll be winning the penalties, of course, obviously in pre-season. He's going to do a lot of that. I was with Sky, Jamie Redknapp at the weekend and went up doing the game, and he called the penalty. He said, Max will get a penalty in this game. And I was like, okay. And he got a penalty. I mean, goodness me.
Okay, just real quick. You talked about you with Jamie Redknapp in the Sky Sports studio, and you spoke afterwards to Victor Gyokeres, who we were all laughing. Very good. It's quite, by the way, it's quite an easy one. Sometimes I find them quite difficult. Oh no, that's not actually that great. Is it like that?
Actually, Taylor, you've done it the best. You do it better than him.
Is that quite good?
That's better than quite good.
Look, you did it there. You put it on social. Yeah. I love it. And then you spoke to him afterwards, and he was talking about the hair flicks, and I think it was David Jones who said, hang on a second, with the hair, the hair flicks, people giving you sticks saying that in your opening game against Manchester United you had like 21 touches and therefore you had more hair flicks than touches. And was the hair flick celebration about that? And he admitted to basically it was. So I tell you, these footballers who don't read social media, sure,
they do. They do. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was coming through, I always used to watch Match of the Day. I'd be like, oh, what are the guys saying? What's Ian Wright saying? What's all these? I wanted to know, because I learned a lot from watching these guys. So, and they know what they're talking about. But yeah, it was actually quite refreshing. He was really good. He's really good, and I'm pleased for him because it's really important to get your first goal. I remember Olivier Giroud when he came to the football club. It took him a while to get going. I think he got his first goal in the League Cup, actually. I'm not quite sure it was against, but it took him about 6 or 7 games. So this is a big moment, and he took a penalty, and that's what we're saying earlier with Man United. Give him the penalty, confidence.
Like you say, giving him the ball for the penalty, getting 2 goals. Now nobody's talking about him in any other way other than, he's settled in, he's good, which just relieves that pressure, I guess.
Rebecca, final point, 20-second point on this, though. Yeah. It tells you that he is mentally and emotionally capable of completely dealing with whatever's being talked about and still going about his business. So the pressure on his shoulders doesn't mount up because he said, I heard the hair flicks, I addressed it, now it squashes it. There's a lot of quality in that when it's your goal scorer. When your goal scorer can do that, it sets the tone all the way back throughout the entire field. I loved everything about that. Everything about it.
He might have struggled if he'd bumped into the referee, to be fair, as he ran up. Okay, picks of the week, guys. Picks of the week. Current standings. Let me just say that Theo has 1 point from a couple of weeks ago when you had Arsenal's win over United. I have a point from the last minute winner from our boy Rio, from Liverpool's 3-2 win against Newcastle Monday. Taylor's still on 0, but it's okay. He came a week late. He won the It's Called Soccer Summer Series picks of the week against against Dax McCarty. So it's okay. You got plenty of time. These picks this week, guys. Okay, so let's going to start with Taylor. You get to go first. Bottom of the table gets to go first. It's like American sport. Chelsea against Fulham Saturday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Score only. Chelsea Fulham West London derby. Go. Score only.
Chelsea 3-1.
3-1 says Taylor. Okay. Oh, gosh, that would be a rough start for Fulham, really, wouldn't it? Theo.
2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah,
I'm going to go 2-2.
I like the 3-1. I was going to go 3-1, but I'll go 2-1. I like.
So you're
3-1.
both going Chelsea win. I'm going 2-2. I fancy Fulham to get something. He's too good a manager to start the season with 2 draws and a defeat, I think, Marco Silva. Liverpool. How good's Liverpool Arsenal, by the way, on Sunday before the international break? How good is that game going to be? It's at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. It's on USA Network, I think, but I will have to double check that. I need a score from you guys, and I need a scorer. Theo, you can go first.
I feel like they're going to cancel each other out, to be honest, but I feel like there'd be goals in this game. I'll go 2-2.
Okay, 2-2 Theo.
Who's your scorer, by the way?
Oh, yeah, give me a scorer.
Follow the rules, Theo.
Scorer, I will go for Gyökeres. How about that?
Okay. Every time you say his name, you have to do a celebration.
No problem.
Okay, Taylor.
I love the canceling out theory, but I still think there's goals. I'm going to go just one more. I'm going to say Arsenal, Liverpool, Arsenal 3, Liverpool 2, and I will do Gyokeres with a game winner. So hang on,
and it's at Anfield, so you're happy to do Liverpool 2, Arsenal 3. Yeah, and see, that's interesting. Yep. That's really interesting because I'm doing that. Well, I'm doing the same score. I'm going to go Liverpool 1, Arsenal 3, and I'm going to go Gyökeres. So we'll just.
I hope I'm so wrong. Like, it's just good with me.
I know. We're all going Arsenal. You're just not believing in your own team. Okay,
hopefully
last one.
Play as well.
Cincinnati against Philadelphia, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, live on Sunday Night Soccer, score only. And just real quick, Cincinnati are both having a really good season, right? Especially Cincinnati,
yes.
Is that right?
This is a support. This is the
Liverpool
this
Arsenal,
is more
basically.
than likely the supporter shield. Cincinnati has spent more money than anyone in MLS over the past 2 transfer windows. And Philadelphia is out kicking their coverage. Philadelphia plays a Red Bull-style soccer. It will be ugly and exciting at the same time. I'll take Cincinnati 2, Philadelphia 1.
2-1 to Cincinnati. Okay. Theo, you want to have a stab
I tried to help Theo with Cincinnati's got arguably the best player in MLS without Messi. That Evander.
What you should do every week is actually just tell us the storylines, the opposite of what they actually are. Theo won't know. He'll go with what you said, and then you'll just go, yeah, that's what we should do.
But I will trick Theo into the wrong score.
I'll go Cincinnati 2-1 as well. How about that?
Okay, great. Awesome. So good work, Theo.
Brilliant.
I'll make it boring. It's all good.
By the way, I'm changing mine. It's 3-2 Cincinnati Philly just because Theo took 2-1.
3-2 to you to Cincinnati. 2-1 Theo says. I'm going to go with 1-1 in that one.
I'm nasty.
Okay, so we will update the standings. Thanks. We'll update the standings. I will watch you on my flight home, Taylor, next week on Apple TV for that. Okay, talking of Major League Soccer, just tell us a couple of things happened this week.
Yes.
What was Thomas Muller doing in the press conference?
Amazing. First off, Thomas, if you're listening to this, I resonate with you opening your mouth and then trying to reel it back in the act of speaking. It was very interesting. There's been this rumor that Tristan Blackman has kind of been flirting with representing Canada or playing for the United States. Thomas starts telling that story, and then he says, and he's going to be representing the United States. And his eyes go this big as he's talking and realizes He just broke news that Tristan Blackman, his teammate, center back for Vancouver, is going to be called into the United States men's national team, and he does it in action. It was brilliant. Go on social media if you want a good laugh. I've
got to say, if
really
I'm
good.
Tristan Blackman, of all the people to announce me on the stage, I'll take Thomas Muller every day of the week.
96% of the people watching that had never heard of Tristan Blackman, so his QR, he just went up a notch. It's awesome.
Massively.
Do you know, Thomas Muller is so refreshing, isn't he? Have you seen the clip when he's going through the airport on his passport? Have you seen this one as well?
Yes.
No,
pretending he's on the phone. Oh, goodness me. So there's fans or whatever, and he just doesn't want to speak to some people, and he's on his passport.
He's just on his passport.
It's so great. It's brilliant. He's the big joker who's
I love
brilliant.
people like that. Yeah, I agree. Heung-min Son got a goal, free kick,
awesome.
Inside 10 minutes for LAFC against Dallas. I'm hearing people in your circles, Taylor, talk about how this guy could have a better impact on Major League Soccer than Messi. I just mean that from a point of view of an ambassador.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Listen, this is the real first, I would say, Asian player that's come into this league of high quality that can resonate and all of a sudden open the eyeballs to the league that has never been there, right? Over 350,000 South Koreans in that community in Los Angeles alone. So you talk about that impact off the field. But for our listeners around the world listening to this podcast, this will resonate. He will be like Robbie Keane. He doesn't have the Messi. He doesn't have the Beckham. Quite honestly, he's not Zlatan in that persona and that impact. But he's a winner. He's coming still with gas left in the tank, tread on the tires. He can compete. He can win. When Robbie Keane left Spurs and came to the LA Galaxy, everyone's like, listen, his international career's done. And that was complete wrong. He played in the Euros. He played in World Cup qualifiers. He won MLS Cups. He scored goals. He was a best 11 player. I think Son should be compared more to Robbie Keane because anyone compared to Lionel Messi, I think we're a little off because he's arguably the greatest of all time to ever play the game, no matter where he's playing.
I want to move on to the mailbag, guys, because we've got some really good questions this week. I'm going to pick out a few. Thank you, everybody, for sending them in. Keep sending them in to us. Mike from Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. Theo, I'll ask you this one. Wrexham have outspent some Champions League clubs. Would you say that's smart investment or a reckless gamble?
Oh, goodness me. I feel like it is a bit of both, to be honest.
Oh, you sitting on the fence, Theo.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Now, I'll tell you what. Look, they've done it right up until this point. So it'd be hard to question their system or how they're doing it. So when I look at it in that sense, for me, it isn't a risk in their eyes, but on the outside, for me, it does look like that considerably. But look, they've came up consistently in the leagues and they're making a name for themselves, aren't they? So I won't question what they're doing or behind the scenes.
I think it's a reckless gamble to not do this because Rebecca and Theo, they haven't done this and gotten to this point. But that squad that they came up from League One to Championship, it is not good enough. So they had to do some kind of investment. Rebecca, Taylor, I got a question for you. No, I'm asking you a question because I can read it on the screen. How do you react on air when Palace scores, or even worse, when they concede?
When we concede, it's an exhalation and sometimes a swear word.
Who do you yell at in studio? Like, who do you yell at? Is it Robbie Musto? Is it Tim Auer?
Yeah. Whoever's closest. Okay. And they wind me up a lot as well. But when we score, turn the volume down on my microphone because I do.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my God, the weekend when we scored, get in there! It was absolutely amazing. Yeah. I'm very loud, very annoying. Talk about the FA Cup a lot. But yeah, so obviously I'm off camera when this is happening, so it's fine. As soon as I go on camera, I'm like, and welcome back, everything Crystal Palace. By 2 goals to nil. But yeah, and while we're at it, Harry from Manchester, they've also asked me, thank you for this question. What's the biggest difference between presenting football in the UK and in the US? Yeah, I'd say there's a couple of different things. Yeah. One is talkback. So in England, and actually this was doing the rounds, this video the other day, in England we have what's known as open talkback. And so you hear everything. You hear whether someone's cueing a graphic, you hear the director cueing the cameras, you hear the stats guy, you hear the producer, I hear everything, right? Including many a time I've heard people ordering a pizza. Not even lying. And I'm on air and they're like, yeah, can I get extra pepperoni? And I'll do double crust. Like, hello, literally trying to do live TV. But when I moved to America and they put my earpiece in, I was like, hello. Is anyone there? Because they have what's called closed talkback, where you only get spoken to if somebody presses a button.
That felt heaven.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, I suppose, now, but I felt very naked. I was like, and sometimes there are still times now where I'm like, is it working? Tap, 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 is it working? So that
Rebecca,
was a
it's
big
funny
difference.
you say this, because when I first tried this, I was doing, I tried open for the first time.
Oh, you did?
And then there was a lady counting down 10, 9.
That's...
I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm going to have to finish my point quickly. And it was more for Gary at the time.
For somebody else? Okay.
Yes. And right. I didn't realise at all.
It can throw you. Well, they should have told you that. They should have told you.
Well, I turned the volume down now.
Turn it down.
And I'm a man as well.
Gary
Can't
Neville takes it out
once.
sometimes, so don't worry about it. Sometimes you'll see Gary Neville just remove his earpiece. It's like, bothered? No, let me just finish my point. The other thing I think that's a quick difference is that you have to remember that in England, you are very rarely going to get new viewers who don't just suddenly like football. In the US, you get every single season, I get messages or I meet people at FanFest who say, oh my gosh, I started watching you last year. And then you get the person next to them saying, oh, I started watching you 13 years ago, or I watched football since I was 8. So you get the whole spectrum. So you have to make sure that your coverage covers the people who've been watching you since the beginning and watching football since the beginning of their life, and the people who've been watching since literally last season. Because in England, we're just not used to that. People are born into it, right? It's what they're born into. So that you have to just make sure you're not patronising the people that know everything, and you're not talking down to them, but you also need to educate those that are new. So that's quite a difficult balance. So I've got a couple more questions. Theo, you joined Everton as a Liverpool fan. This is from Ethan in New York.
Yeah.
But would you have ever joined Tottenham?
No.
Next question, please.
Would you? Would you have done that? I feel like you
Next
might.
question,
Right,
please.
for the right money?
That's an
For the right
absolute
money?
no.
No, this is a
Absolutely
mailbag
no.
on its... Oh, okay, this is an absolute no. I thought
Sorry.
that was
First
right.
off,
Who's that question from?
Hang on, I'm calling bullshit.
From,
Theo would have for the right
Ethan in
number.
New York.
For the right number, absolutely.
No, I wouldn't. Absolutely not.
Guys, I've got to go on to a very important question from Freya in LA.
Go on.
Do you I'm going to ask Theo this because I don't think Taylor's got an answer. And if he has, it's probably wrong.
He might do.
Do you put the milk in first or last when making tea? Because Taylor probably uses a microwave. Go on.
Last.
What do you mean? Well, you put it in first?
No. I put
last.
The milk in last.
Right, good. So you put tea bag, water, give it a little smush.
Right, you put the
take it
first
out,
off.
milk,
Anyone that puts
right?
the milk in first is a serial killer. I even know
Taylor,
that.
the videos of Americans making tea greatly upsets me and makes me question my citizenship.
I'm really skeptical.
Does.
I'm not going to
Do they know how to make tea?
Theo, we're
What,
leaving
Theo?
bags in. We're putting mugs in microwave. We're not putting milk in. We're putting honey and lemon and God knows what.
Absolutely.
It's a problem. I'm trying to change the world.
Lemonade?
I've got a part. Yeah.
I was asked to put in tea when I played for Southampton. I was 15 on the way to play Preston, funny enough. Dennis Wise, he asked me to make teas for all the lads. And I said to him, I don't know how to make a cup of tea. And I just sat back down and ended up playing the game and doing really well. Then the next day, my dad got a phone call saying, oh, your son's refusing to make teas for the team. And he says, is he there to make teas or play football? What do you want him to do? Like, that was literally it.
Go on, Mr. Walcott. I like that answer.
So fair
Dennis
play, but
Wise
yeah.
told on you.
Dennis Wise, and that's don't say no to Dennis Wise, but look, I did.
I mean, I was going to say,
Theo,
that's
you were told to make tea, and I was told to go buy a keg. I was told to go buy a keg. So look at the difference.
Oh, God bless America. Okay, gents,
Brilliant.
that is it. That is all we've got time for on this week's episode of It's Called Soccer. We want all of your questions because we love them, especially if they're about tea. I'm a Yorkshire Gold girl myself. Theo, what brand of tea? There
PG.
are others, but I have a partnership with
PG
Yorkshire, so
tips.
it's fine. Are you? Okay. PG's good too.
Yeah.
There's a place for all of it, but there's just not a place for the ones
I like
get
green
in a
tea with
hotel
vodka.
in
For
America.
anyone listening, I like green tea with vodka. Thank you.
That is literally typical of how Americans have their tea. That is all we've got time for. Send us in your questions. Keep subscribing to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And chaps, we'll see you next week. This has been great.